Welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, dancer, instructor, and proud owner of a thriving belly dance fitness business. And in this podcast, I'm giving it to you straight, sharing what it takes to kickstart and grow your dance and fitness business for the success you deserve. Whether you're a seasoned instructor, a passionate performer, or dreaming of turning your love for dance and fitness into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Lace up those sneakers and pull on those dance shoes and get ready for truth smacks, tips, and inspiration. Let's do this. Hello, and welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, your host. And this is, what is it? I think it's going to be episode 75. And I'm super excited, guys. I call this young woman my whiz kid. She used to work for Sharkey, and I'm like, fuck, she had to leave and do her own goddamn thing. Why? This is Angelina Sciano, and she used to be did I say Sciano or not Sciano?
You know, I usually say Sciano. I think within our own family, there may be some debate. So either is fine.
Okay. Angelina Sciano. And she used to be the tech specialist for Sharkey. Guys, she was everything. She made everything goddamn work. All the buttons, all the payment buttons, all the she could do everything. Audio to making a website to pleasing people and great customer service. She knew how to write as opposed to me. Okay.
So just good enough at enough things to be dangerous.
Okay. However you feel. But Angelina, welcome to the Dance Fit Biz Builders podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
I'm excited to be here. It's weird being on the other side of this.
Right? I know, it's weird. I'm interviewing you. It's so funny. Anyway, so Angelina, I am psyched to have you here because Angelina, you decided to venture on your own. Yay! That's awesome. And do your own thing. And she is opening up her own dance and fitness studio. So, Angelina, what first sparked the idea to open your own studio?
So this has been in progress for a few years at this point. It's been a little over 2 years, maybe even more, since I first had the idea. Okay, and I've been involved with a lot of different aspects of dance, from Sharkey to running local belly dance workshops and partnering with other dancers around here to put those on, to running online things during the pandemic, to helping with marketing for a local dance studio, just a whole bunch of different approaches for admin, really. Because I love dance, but my talent is not being an incredible dancer. It's being pretty solid at the admin that goes into making dance events happen. And the more I thought about it, I started having this idea that I could take this a step further and really utilize all these random skills that I had picked up in opening an actual studio. And around this time, I started noticing that there were some other businesses in the area and that I was seeing online where people were setting up a studio. In some cases, it wasn't quite successful. And then they moved on with their lives and it was fine. And in some cases, they opened up another one and it was successful or it wasn't. But it made me realize that there's so many people out there who are just doing the thing and not spending so much time stressing about whether it's going to work out or whether they're competent or not. And I said, okay, if I could have a little bit of that audacity with the business foundation that I have, I think that could be really cool. So at the time, I started a Google Doc with the dancer I was partnering with for in-person workshops. And it was titled, "Fuck It, Let's Open a Dance Studio." And she was kind enough to deal with my stream of thoughts, ideas, and help me refine it a little bit. And then from there, I was like, all right, if something's on a Google Doc, I think I can run with it.
You know what's cool, Angelina? A lot of people go into opening up a dance studio because they love dance and they love teaching, although you do love that. But you knew going in because you were great at the admin stuff.
Yep. And I think it would be such a cool opportunity, or it will be such a cool opportunity to create a space where other dancers can go and do their thing, especially for styles that don't get as much brick and mortar space, like belly dance or flow arts, burlesque, or some of the styles that we're going to have. Those dance styles don't often get their own space because they're not quite as mainstream or as widespread for instructors to be able to go do that. And then those instructors also have full-time jobs and other commitments, and they're trying to further their own art. So I'm excited to create a space where they can come in and do the thing that they're great at in a functioning system.
As dancers and instructors, we find all the admin shit boring. We don't want to do it, but you love it.
I do really like the admin and figuring out the systems. Not that it's not overwhelming, especially right now before we open. It's like a puzzle. I like putting the things together and finding the structure and making things work.
That's really neat. Wow, what cool insight on how you're in the industry, but coming in from a different angle, like wanting to go into it from a different angle. Very neat. Very cool. Okay, so was it a dream you've always had?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I don't know if you've ever heard that quote that's like the only people you have to make happy are your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self. My 8-year-old self would be horrified at all of the activities that I currently do. She'd be like, we're doing what with our free time? She was a little bit of a stick in the mud, so I think I've improved greatly since then. I kind of fell into dance after I was in college. It was my freshman year, and I was awkward as heck. And I thought that I needed to start to do something to become a little bit more graceful. I had done group fitness classes before then, mostly because my high school had a program where if you took fitness classes at the YMCA, you could get out of going to gym class. And that was an immediate yes for me. But when I went to college, that was when I was like, you know what, I'm going to go take a ballroom dance class. Ended up in the ballroom dance club. And it just kind of changed the trajectory of what I was doing. I realized that dance didn't have to be something very intimidating. It was something that you could do as a hobby. And it was a really good sort of gateway drug to enjoying fitness and exercise in other ways. And that was in 2011, so almost 15 years ago. So that was the first time I had done anything with dance. So the dance studio has been somewhat of a recent development.
Right, great. I'm going to want to interview you later on once your business has been open for about a year, and maybe ask you so how do you feel? Is there a big difference working for yourself versus working for someone else's business? And I know a lot of dance teachers, sometimes they just want to go back to working for a facility instead of opening them their own. So I'm curious to hear about that in a year from now.
I'm curious to see how I feel about that as well.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Now I want to get into your preparation and your planning. So first, for someone who's interested in opening up their own studio, or even just producing their own class, right? What kind of research and prep did you do before opening this studio?
First things first, you got to make sure it's going to be financially viable. Spreadsheets. And one thing that I've realized through this process is that everything kind of ladders in on itself. The first time that you try to open up a spreadsheet and run some projections on this, there's going to be a lot of questions that you have or things where you're not quite sure about the number that you're putting down. As you go through the process, you will refine your vision for what you're offering, your pricing, your projection. So for example, if you're starting a class, you need a space. Well, the space will determine your max revenue because that determines how many people you can fit in the class. Mm-hmm. A space where you can fit 6 people is going to have very different business models, than a space where you can fit 20 people. And also your marketing ability. So in that example, can you market a class well enough to get 20 people in there? Or does it maybe make sense to have a smaller class at a higher price point? Those things are all up in the air. So that's why I really like using spreadsheets, because as you go through and do these projections, you'll start to figure out, where am I going to fall? What do I need to do research on to get more confident about this number? Where can I go with that? Mm-hmm. But until you have a business model on paper, or paper in quotation marks, on a spreadsheet that works, the model works, will allow you to pay yourself and any instructors. Mm-hmm. You don't have a business. You're just signing yourself up for a whole bunch of problems. So that really has to be step one, is figuring out a way to make sure the model worked. One thing that really helped me was my dad is assisting me with this. He's worked in the mortgage industry his whole life. He's opened multiple companies. So my source of funding for this has been a loan from him for the build out as well as personal savings that I had put towards it. And he is a big business plan guy, but he knows nothing about group fitness. He's gone to one belly dance class, which he gave it his all. He says it was great for his back. And he likes to communicate via PowerPoints because it's a little bit easier for him than a billion spreadsheets where I'm like a detail person. And I put together this presentation for him that set out, all right, what is a functional business model? I think the criteria that I had used, I was like, it has to pay me this much. I want to incorporate X, Y, and Z. I don't want to be reliant on A, B, and C. Listed out criteria. I also did a ton of research online, and this is a bit rambly, so we may have to cut this if it's not helpful. But I also did a bunch of research online to figure out what are some sort of industry benchmarks for revenue for a fitness studio, et cetera. One thing that I had come across was the idea that you should be able to cover all of your fixed expenses with 50 clients. This is more applicable to a brick and mortar versus if you're running your own class. That's a very different story. But for brick and mortar, you have these fixed expenses. You have your rent, your electricity, the overhead. The average boutique fitness studio or gym, like small gym, has between 50 and 150 members. So when I was doing my projections, I knew that my average revenue per member had to fall to a place where with 50 members, it would cover my fixed expenses. And with 150 members, it would pay me what I needed to be paid and pay my instructors what they needed to be paid. So with that, looked at that number, said, okay, can I get to that with just group fitness classes? No. Okay, let's figure out how we can pad out the model. So we're planning on offering group classes, one-on-one lessons, a performance series where people can register for a certain number of weeks and then perform a choreography at the end. As well as some small group Pilates training, because all of that affects it. So in our case, if we knew that we couldn't get to our revenue goals with just group fitness classes, that also affected the kind of space that we needed. We chose a space where we can have one large studio. It'll be about 1,200 square feet, and a secondary smaller studio that's only about 525 square feet of usable space for small group Pilates or mobility training. Because having the ability to have two things at once made that model work out a lot more efficiently. So just spreadsheets, and trying to think of things through the downstream.
Love that. Wow, brava. Psst. Hey, you. Yeah, the one who's spending hours prepping for your classes and hoping students come back and you're feeling like you're guessing your way through. Dude, I've been there. Guess what? It doesn't have to be that way. Inside the Sharkey Instructor Academy, I teach you how to lead with clarity, lead with confidence, and with a method that actually works for both you and your students. Less stress, better classes, and more income. Can I get an amen? Just go to sharkey.com/teach to learn more and join us. That's SHARQUI.com/teach. But now when did the market research come in? Like, is it going to be of interest in your area?
Yeah. So I'm lucky enough that I have a background in market research. That's my day job is in sales enablement for a market research company. So I'm very, very comfortable with doing the market research. There's a few sources that you can pull from. There are industry publications. I think a great place to look for some of the data on what are big trends in the industry are, believe it or not, scheduling softwares. So in fitness, there's Walla, it's the one I'm using, Mindbody, Mariana Tech is a really great software for market research. But they have these free publications available on their website where you can go in and see, okay, what are the general industry trends? What formats are popular? What is, in some cases, what's the average revenue for a studio in your area? Things like that. Another thing I would do is look at the local landscape of what businesses are opening up and where there's white space. So I knew when I was trying to pick a location, obviously price was important, square footage was important, the neighbors were important, also driving distance. I'm pretty lazy. I don't want to drive more than 20 minutes to get to a business. Mm-hmm. So I had a 20-minute radius of the area that I was in. And if you use Google My Maps, you can go in and put custom map markers. And I went and I mapped out the locations of every Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, like specialty Pilates, boutique fitness, to see where all of those figured out. Because I knew that at the prices I would have to charge, the same kind of clientele who are going to like a Whole Foods would be the kind of people who would frequent the studio.
Yeah.
So looking at geographically, where do we see clusters? Where might opportunity arise within there? That's not saying that that's the only way to do it, but those are some things you can do to get a sense of your area. Also, looking at demographics, income levels in the area where you're looking to open your business can help you get a sense of what might be realistic pricing. And all of this is pre-research. Like, I'm not open yet. You might talk to me next year and I could easily say, wow, I was really off.
Right.
As well as talking to your target customers.
Right.
Going out, finding people. I had a little PowerPoint put together of the general concept and got feedback from people, and that really helped.
Oh, wonderful. Wow. Amazing job. A lot of prep. You really well thought out. Wonderful. This is great information because not a lot of dancers, dance teachers may not know this. So, but it's wonderful that you have your father. Wonderful.
That a big help.
Were there any other mentors or maybe even courses that helped you approach this?
Oh my gosh, this is the lead into talking about Sharky, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. I like constantly cite you as my fitness side of the business mentor. No, it's true. I don't think I've actually said the concept of the studio so far in this, but where it's Downbeat Dance Fitness is and it is dance fitness classes taught using the block method, as well as block or add-on method that Sharky does, as well as adult recreational dance classes and some traditional fitness classes. But we're doing a very similar method to Sharky, and being involved with Sharky, because I was taking Sharky classes before I worked for Sharky and became an instructor. But being involved with Sharky really shaped my understanding of what does a good teacher look like for a class. Because I have to go in and hire instructors. And I am blessed to have a really strong network of fantastic instructors in the area from all of the other dance things that I've done. But when you're trying to think of what does criteria look like for evaluating how someone teaches a class, how can you coach somebody to become a better instructor rather than just trying to find the perfect person randomly? All of that are skills I learned from working with you and Sharky. And I can highly recommend the Sharky instructor training. Actually, I just hired somebody who came out of in Sharky instructor training. Like, she finished her Sharky instructor training. We did an in-person teaching demo. She was great. And she's already signed on to teach, and we're not even open for another couple months.
Yes, I know who that is. Wonderful. Congrats. Yay.
I was very excited. She did phenomenal in her test.
Good. Wait, so tell me, what is your test like?
I don't have it formalized yet because a lot of what I've been doing is reaching out to instructors that I already had. But she came in. So this particular instructor, I'm not using her name because I don't know if she would want herself mentioned on a podcast, but
it's fine. I've used her face on social media, so it's Maria Masana.
Okay, great. Shout out to Maria. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
She had reached out to me on Instagram and said that she had just completed her Sharky instructor training. And I was so excited because she was one of my in-person Sharky students when I was teaching in person a couple years ago, which is how she heard about Sharky. And she came to the studio. Now, studio in quotation marks. We have a lease. We have a space. It's an empty cement box because building permits are the absolute worst. The whole process is terrible. So she came to the empty box that is the studio, and she demoed a couple blocks. I had let her know in advance I was going to ask her to demo. And she did a great job. She was, even with just me there, she was really engaged. She did a great job of cueing. All of her cues were on time. And it was just a really strong demo. And I think the thing that I actually liked the most was I had not had my coffee yet. I was clearly just like, oh my gosh, I wasn't wearing the right shoes. I don't know what I did. But she was going through the blocks, and she got to the hip twist, the fast hip twist to the side. And all of a sudden she pauses, and she had taught 2 blocks. I said, teach 2 to 3. And she turns around and she goes, do you want me to do this one, or do you want to get your coffee now? And I said, hi. As silly as it sounds, the ability to read the room and be like, this person does an understanding of the fact that a hip twist is a really tiring and sweaty move.
Uh-huh. Right.
And that she's already showcased the skills. I thought it was great. I was like, I do want that coffee. Thank you.
That's great, Maria, that you can read the room. Love it.
And then after that, we talked about her goals and why she had done the instructor certification and some things that she could work on to become a stronger instructor before open, because we're in this really unique position where we have a couple months.
So, wow. So that leads me into my next question, because you were in a cement box, right? So was that your biggest hurdle you had to face so far?
Yes. It took over a year to find the space.
Okay.
It's terrible. The whole build out process makes you feel stupid and incompetent. It's awful.
Okay.
I started off looking for space. So I am really quickly back to the subject of mentoring. I am working with a designer and architect duo who do a lot of boutique fitness studios.
Nice.
So I knew right away that cataloged all my skills and realized that there were a couple things that I needed help on. Accounting, and I've got an accountant, and then the designing the space. So I reached out for help on that for the build out. So I had somebody to run things by, but that doesn't mean you're going to immediately find a space. So I was looking on commercial lease websites, shout out to LoopNet, for months. At one point we had found one, and we went all the way up through the letter of intent. So if you haven't done commercial space before, the way it works is you find the space either through a broker or yourself. You send a letter of intent, which is a indication that you're willing to rent the space at the basic terms. So a countersigned letter of intent means you've agreed on the rental rate, whether or not you can renew, what utilities are included, things like that. And then after that, you get the full lease. Usually goes back and forth with lawyers a little bit. You sign it, and then you're good to go. So we were all the way up through a letter of intent with one space, and then all of a sudden they ghosted me. They said that they were dealing with some permit approval for a redevelopment of the shopping center that they were in with the town, and that went back and forth. Basically, they didn't email me back, and I said, okay, that one's dead in the water. So we reached out to a broker, kept on the lookout for other spaces, found one that's actually much cheaper. It's less than half the price, in a better area, and the landlord is great. It's an independent building. She has a stained glass studio in the same shopping center. Her husband has a pottery studio.
Nice.
It's right next to a live music venue and some sculptor studios. So it's a fantastic, very artistic space. Got everything straightened out. But it is just an empty box, which is great because we don't have to demolish a lot of things, but we do have to turn it into a studio.
Yeah.
And the town that we're in has a pretty extensive permit process, and it's quite confusing. So one piece of advice I'd have for anybody planning on opening an actual brick and mortar studio is start reaching out to contractors earlier. I was under the impression that you just got a recommendation for a contractor, and the contractor showed up and walked around the building, and then they said, it'll cost about this much. And they sent a document to the town saying, we're going to do some renovations here. And the town said, great, have fun. And that's not at all what happens.
Wow. So what happens? They take their time.
They take their time. We lost about 3 weeks. So we got access to the space July 1st. And we lost about 3 weeks because I had 2 recommendations for contractors. One turned out to be way too big. The other turned out to be way too small. Neither of them were responsive. Again, burned about 3 weeks on that. Nobody knew who needed to submit the permits. They were shuffling us around. They were telling us we had to hire another architect. It was very confusing. Finally got a different contractor recommendation. They've been fantastic so far. But even so, even though we have a set of plans from the architect I was working with, we have a contractor. The town requires things, they call it MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So you have to have versions of the plan submitted for all of the plumbing and HVAC and electrical. And in this case, the landlord didn't have that. The previous tenant had been in there for quite a while, and it just wasn't available. The rent is great, but we didn't have that. So we had to bring in an MEP engineer to go in and write all of those up and get those plans ready. It ended up taking 5 weeks, start to finish, to just get the permits submitted.
Wow.
Things like, had I known in advance.
Yeah.
But
it's why would people be unresponsive? They don't need the work. I guess not. Or maybe they're overworked. Who knows?
But contractors in general are busy right now. It's all of the trades are pretty booked out. So.
Yeah. So, like, your mindset in all of this, like, how did you need to shift to kind of be resilient and push through? Like, what was your process?
So many spreadsheets. I don't know. Maybe I should stop relying on spreadsheets and coffee and crying occasionally.
Okay, great. So, no, like, I'm going to get through this. Let me breathe. Let me meditate, or you're just onward.
More onward. I have taken up Pilates in my office as a little bit of like a recentering tool. It's always nice to go out and take a class and just show up and be like, I'm a student and I have no responsibility for this and I love it. And honestly, the instructor pool that I've gotten, I'm leaning on them pretty heavily because they're like, yeah, no, it makes sense that this is taking a while. You don't have to feel silly about that. It is what it is.
Right. So, right.
I am, again, blessed to be surrounded by supportive family and my partner, Ian, and the instructors that I have on board. They're great. Some of them are also virtual studio instructors. Shout out to Nikki for constant patience and support.
Love it. Oh, that's awesome. What about promotion? I'm all about promotion. Have you started?
I have a little bit. One of the things that we've been doing is going to in-person events and setting up a table. So we're going to have flow arts as well as belly dance with like fan veils and things. I love fan veils. So we have a workout class that's taught in the block add-on method with fan veils, and people love fan veils. So you could bring a basket of fan veils to somewhere and people will get really excited about it.
Yeah.
So we have been bringing them to, we participated in a theater festival. We have a fitness fest that's happening in the first week of September. Tomorrow, I'm doing a wellness retreat thing and tabling to get people aware of us in person. We do have social media. We are slowly growing. We passed 100 followers last week, which is very exciting.
And are you doing it? Are you managing it? Are you managing the social media?
Yeah. Managing is maybe a strong word because there's not a ton up there right now.
Okay.
The goal will be to offload that as soon as I reasonably can.
Gotcha.
Actually, that's something one thing I am really struggling with is what to post on social media when you have an empty concrete box. And I don't want to throw up a bunch of AI photos. I feel like anytime you look online, they're like, oh, you can just AI it. No, it's not going to do that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So why film the empty box? Why not film the types of classes that are going to be in there?
You have to get video of the classes. And
these teachers that you're going to potentially hire, do they have any footage of themselves?
Yeah, that's a good idea to reach out and footage, even if it's not. I think I get stuck in this box where I have to, it has to be in the format that we're going to teach in the space, but not necessarily. We can just have the instructors dancing.
Right. Get them excited. And I also talk about, how about you, the owner? How about, you do some talking head videos of why you're doing this?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm always like, nobody wants to hear about my stupid spreadsheets.
Be real. We always talk about what got you started? That kind of thing. Because I love to support businesses where I love the owner.
That is true. That's it. And I follow a lot of businesses on social media where I'm like, look at them getting started.
Yeah. Show them your journey. Maybe show them the cement box and say, hey, it's going to be this and this. I don't know.
We do. I have the floor plan painters taped out in the cement box right now so that I could do some dancing around in it and testing the space.
Yeah.
The cement box is being used, believe it or not. We have an entire heels dance troupe that was practicing in there because they just needed some space. Ian's been doing some ballroom practice in there.
Great. So you have a wood floor already?
No, it is just a cement floor. The flooring, no one on the podcast is going to see this, but this is not the color, but we have this padded floor that's going in. It's going over another padding, but this will be joint supportive flooring, so it'll absorb.
Oh, love it. Awesome. Besides the contractors, what other things surprised you the most becoming a studio owner that you didn't expect at all?
The answer I have to this question is going to be very different when I actually have a studio versus
an
empty box and a lot of spreadsheets, putting this into perspective.
Yeah.
I am very much in the messy middle right now of trying to make this work. But I think the thing that surprised me probably most, other than the contractors, was how excited people are and how willing they are to be on board. I've kind of suspected for a while that it is easier to get hype about in-person dance things that like have a physical location. And that does seem to be the case. Like I promoted a lot of dance events, and the hype that happens from I am creating a new space versus I am creating an event is very different in magnitude.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Surprised me quite a bit because you would think it's
Yeah.
I think that people, when they hear studio, they think about the possibilities that could happen with it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are willing to be on board, which is awesome.
Now, any negativity from anybody?
I actually have gotten no negativity so far.
Really?
Genuinely shocking.
Maybe when you post your prices, you may?
That's true. It could be. So far, floating out the prices that we've had planned, we haven't really widespread them. But no negativity so far. Well, again, we'll see what happens as we get more and more visible. But
of course,
I know that they say with anytime you try to start a business, you're always going to get some negativity from family members or friends. And I have not experienced that so far.
Or maybe even negativity from the dance industry. Who knows? Fellow competitors.
Yeah. And now I may be lucky in that we have a weird concept in that we're dance fitness. Like we are having recreational dance classes, but the styles we offer are not being offered. There's no studios necessarily dedicated to those styles.
Right.
And we are fitness, but also dance. I'm also a little less tapped into the local fitness scene than I am the local dance scene. So that they may react differently because it's more of a competitor versus for a lot of the local dancers, they see it as a resource.
Right. I'm not just trying to be, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer asking you or comment, just because I've dealt with negativity. So that's always on my radar. That's all.
I almost assuredly we will have it at some point.
Yeah. Right. So Angelina, for those instructors who are thinking about starting their own studio, what's the one piece of advice you'd give them to save years of trial and error?
Wow. You said years and I was like, oh man, I spent multiple years on this. Oh dear. Spreadsheets.
Okay. Yeah.
Great. Make sure your business plan works and realize up front that you're not going to be able to teach every single class. Unless you work out something with your business model that I didn't figure out. And maybe I didn't look down these routes because I'm not planning on teaching often. I'm going to be teaching a couple times a week max because I focus on the admin. But just realize that the teaching is such a small part of that as you do the process, it'll almost feel like an afterthought.
Gotcha. Right.
So like make sure you're a good instructor before you start this, because you're not going to have the time to be like, I'm really refining my teaching as I'm going into opening this studio. Like you need to go into this with a perspective on what is a good instructor. Know that you can confidently deliver on things.
Love it.
You have to financials.
Yeah. Know your numbers. Always know your numbers. Yeah. Angelina, thank you so much for educating us on this. I'm sure you're helping a lot of our listeners who are dancers, dance fitness people, and business owners, who might already currently have studios. But
they're probably a lot farther along than I am. They already have a studio. Again,
but who knows?
They're laughing at my naivete.
No, not at all. No, this is definitely going to help people. Thank you. And we'd love for you to take us out with our signature outro.
All right, folks, until next episode, go and kick ass.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you.